Chesapeake born,
Chesapeake born,
hey, you're Chesapeake free,
Chesapeake free,
you're Chesapeake bound,
Chesapeake bound,
flowing with ease,
flowing with ease.
The Watipkin River on the Chesapeake Bay. On this day, during the first week of a 2-month journey, 9 journalists from Central Europe and their hosts have come to take an old-fashioned canoe ride. This was their first opportunity to experience one of America's most treasured natural resources and to learn what we are doing to restore its health. These 9 journalists were the first participants in the Environmental Health Center's Central European Environmental Journalism Fellowship Program. Born of the historic democratic revolutions of the late 80s, the program was designed to give the journalists a first-hand look at how our political process affects our environmental policies.
In the world, United States as a country is seen as, well, maybe a country where a lot of problems were solved or are near to be solved. And in this case, I came to US just to learn how you do, because what to do, we know exactly. There's no problem. But how to do, it's much more, there's the know-how problem. And that's why I want to have a look into your environmental policy.
We don't have any experiences. Of course, we are educated people, so we have the knowledge, but knowledge is not enough.
In Czechoslovakia, it's a big problem, air pollution. For example, we have a baby. I have a daughter, 6 months old, and there are days or nights during the year where we are not allowed to open the window, the baby, not to breathe the air, not to be in the atmosphere, polluted atmosphere, problem of smoke and so on. I've heard that Los Angeles is air polluted, and I'm very interested in if they have any plans, what to do with it.
The visiting journalists would also have the chance to get to know Americans.
You are very easygoing, I suppose, Americans. You are very pleased to the people, very open. But I don't know whether this way of speaking to other people coming to America, is it true or it is just a pose? I try to solve this.
And to visit the natural wonders of which Americans are so proud.
America is famous for its nature, and I intended to see some fine places and some of the landscape.
During the 2-month program, the journalists met with government leaders who shape and carry out our policies. They met with citizen activists and members of environmental organizations who keep a watch on the policymakers. They talked with corporate leaders about how environmental policies affect their businesses now and in the future. They exchanged ideas with American journalists about news coverage of environmental stories. They learned about our right to know laws. The journalists learned how we handle crises. They saw the impact of our past mistakes and our hopes for the future. They visited facilities such as water treatment plants and recycling centers. As the Central European reporters journeyed across America, they collected impressions which were sometimes complimentary.
Mary, I'm sure, in Princeton, she's a lobbyist. I know very well that there are lobbies in the US and what the lobby means originally and so on. But I could talk to her 1.5 hours and ask everything. How she gets the permission to get in the building, where she can go, where she can't go, how she really works. I think it's great.
And impressions which were sometimes critical.
I never liked the big cities. First of all, they are only concrete, and it was terrible. It was awful to have a look from the, 112th floor from the World Trade Center in New York. I was scared of this forest of concrete. And I don't like skyscrapers. I think it's not a very good thing to work in, to live in. And I wonder why Americans are so proud of them. I think it's not a developing, not a step into developing of the mankind.
And even the sky above their heads became a symbol of the best and worst America has to offer.
I'm surprised that since we arrived, the sky is so blue. And doesn't matter if I'm in Washington or if I'm here now in Chesapeake Bay area, the sky is still blue. I haven't seen for many years blue sky in the area when I'm not living, but I'm working. So I think this is probably what we have to remember.
I have two biggest impressions of America. One was environmental, and it was the night when we were traveling from New Orleans down to the Port Arthur in Texas, and we were passing alley of chemical factories, and it was really a horrible vision of all that steel and tubes and valves and pipes and lights in the night, smoke, yellow smoke and red smoke. It's a really horrible vision.
And they gave us an interesting view of ourselves through Central European eyes.
Well, yes, I think that you should know more about not European countries, but the whole world. Because for me, sometimes seems that you think that America is, the very central point of the world, and, you just came as apostles. You don't say, well, we are from America. We solved the problem. Follow us. Why not? And in that moment, we are looking at you and say, well, but there's much more complicated than you think it is. It's not so easy to take one task, one solving the problem and put it in the other country, among other people, among other customs or habits and so on and so on.
We discussed this problem very often, that Americans seemed to pay their attention only, especially to people, to human health. Our point of view is a little different, because for us, we are part of nature, and we must not contaminate water. We must not pollute air. We must not pollute river, not because somebody wants to drink water from this river, but it is the river. Maybe it has soul, and we, as a part of nature, we are responsible to save this river.
But wherever they went, they learned and watched and thought about the implications of our environmental problems, not just for ourselves, but for the world.
I liked The Blue Planet very much because it was a professional film. It was very clear, it was very impressive, it was very touching. How things together damage the Earth, how mankind damages the Earth, how exactly it works. I felt that looking down from the cosmos, we are small, we are vulnerable, and we are totally mad, because there is nothing else in about 100 billion light year in the neighborhood where we could sustain life. And this was in the film, but it's a different thing if you write down this sentence and when you see this with your eyes. So we have to make up our mind and to live differently. That was, I think, the main message of the film for me.
The journalists ended their stay with a visit to the California coast. On St. Patrick's Day in San Francisco, the journalists and their hosts offered some final thoughts on what they valued most about their experiences, what they hoped would be remembered long after images and names have blurred.
I was able to find a confirmation that in people there's power, obviously. So what is very important, that some non-governmental organizations, some grassroots movements, they can really have power and influence politicians. Of course, it's not so simple, as we were told, I know it. There are no simple factors in this. But it's amazing how you Americans are able to unite to achieve some goals.
My main message will be when I come back to Poland. I will talk to environmental group, to activists, and I tell them that they have to not only to act in order to oppose to something, like to political decisions or economical decisions, but they will have to act effectively in order to persuade and offer something, not only to criticize. And they will have to, main thing which they will have to do, they will have start to lobby.
They have to use their limited resources very wisely to go after their problems in the most effective way and to get the most, capitalist term, return on investment, bang for the buck out of their pollution control investments. They can't afford to squander resources on chasing environmental problems which are not quite as severe as their most severe problems, because they have more than enough to do and not nearly enough to do it with. So if it can help over a period of time to accomplish that, and that's why in future years, it's not just the first 9 journalists who are going to help do that. It's not just the next 9 or the 9 after that, but over a period of time, when you start to multiply the audiences times those number of journalists, that's where we hope the return will come. That's what would make me most happy.
Environmentally, the most valuable part of our journey for me was a visit in Pittsburgh. And I hope I've seen there the future of Upper Silesia and Kraków, the future, hopefully not so distant future, without blast furnaces, without smoke, without dirty mills, steel mills. When I compared the pictures of Pittsburgh 30 years ago with what I've seen now, I realized that it is our chance, that it is possible to jump from a dirty, heavy industry into one of the most friendly towns in the United States. I was very impressed of it, and it gave me a hope for the future. A lot of people in Kraków have lost their hope that we will be able to change it, to change our life and to change our situation. So it was like a trip in not too distant future.
Chesapeake born,
Chesapeake born,
hey, Chesapeake free,
Chesapeake free,
Chesapeake bound,
Chesapeake bound,
flowing with ease,
flowing with ease,
Chesapeake born,
Chesapeake born,
bound to thee,
and bound to thee.
indeed I am,
Indeed I am,
Chesapeake free,
Chesapeake free.
she's the mother of the waters and the people of this land. 40 river children reach to take her by the hand and flow through Maryland and Virginia to the sea. She's Atlantic born, Atlantic bound and free, and I'm Chesapeake born,
Chesapeake born,
Chesapeake free,
I'm Chesapeake free,
Chesapeake bound,
Chesapeake bound,
flowing with ease,
and flowing with ease.
Chesapeake born,
Chesapeake born,
bound to thee,
and bound to thee.
indeed I am,
Indeed I Chesapeake free.